musician life, the physical aspect and the psychological aspect. So which one do you want to do first? How do you deal with the incredible physical demand, and how do you deal with the incredible psychological demand?
I think both, of course, they are going hand in hand at some point.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was always someone who didn't have big physical problems out of the piano playing. Like, I was always a player that was pretty relaxed at the piano, I would say. But of course, I also had my problems, and I was building up tensions at other points that were maybe not as visible. But for example, when I started to study, I used to bring my left leg back. So the right leg was still in the front, pushing the pedal, but the left one was going back all the time. And that was the part where I was putting all my tension into.
Yeah.
So my upper body was relaxed, but the leg was full of tension. And my professor used to come behind me and just kick my leg to the front, so I get reminded that I have to relax this as well. And it took a while to get rid of that. Now I see that I didn't continue doing sports after I finished school. At school, we always had our sports lessons, but after that, I was not continuing with that. And at some point, I had a competition coming up. It was, I don't know, I don't remember exactly. I think it was maybe 2016 or something. So 3 years without doing any sports, basically.
And a competition.
And a competition coming up. And I think it was a month or even less than a month before the competition, I started to have so bad back pain that I could not sit, I could not stand. Laying down was also hurtful, but it was better than, anything else. So I had to basically lay down every 15 minutes, lay down, do my stretches, and then come back and practice after 15 minutes. It was horrible.
There's the obviously connection to the psychological.
Definitely,
obviously.
Yes.
And this wasn't one of my questions, the competitions obviously coming after this, but so laying down, you were doing all the physical things you should do. You saw a physiotherapist, you went to the doctor, or?
No, I understood immediately that I just didn't do enough sports. And after the competition, I got myself an abonnement at the gym, and I started to do lots of sports to the point that I went every day to the gym. Which I also had to cancel at some point. It was also too much. Now I'm playing table tennis in the club 2 times a week. I'm not really good, but it's just fun to do.
I love table tennis.
And I like to go for a run, especially on the treadmill. I enjoy this a lot. But I also see that I have to do more sports again. It's always sometimes, when you're traveling a lot for, concerts or other projects, and then you're getting interrupted in your routine.
Yep.
It's very difficult to come back all the time.
That's the most difficult part always. But maybe it's good to find something that you can do always without going to the gym, like
running.
Running. But if you don't run on a treadmill, running in a city is not so nice either.
Yes, especially if I don't know the city. It's strange.
I mean, so in a sense, you have been still quite lucky with your physical part. So the psychological part, how do you handle that? And I'm going to link the question to your thoughts about competitions. Do you think they are necessary, or what? I know that, we've spoken before already when we met last time about the stress on stage or in stress of preparation. I know that you had a difficult moment in one of your early concerts, that you had a blackout. I had the same experience, and after that it was very difficult for me to handle the stress on stage, especially on important moments like exams or competitions. So how do you manage and cope with these moments and situations?
So as the audience does not know about this background story, I'll just recap that very quick.
Yes.
So I was 10 when I played my first Mozart piano concerto with orchestra, which was a great experience. All in all, I really enjoyed it, and I I completely fell in love with being a soloist and playing with orchestra in that time. But so basically we had 2 concerts planned. And on the first concert, I had my very first blackout on stage. And I really didn't know how to continue. I knew that it was my part. I knew that I have to start now. It was close to the end. But I couldn't remember what I have to do. And so unfortunately, we had to interrupt the concert completely. The orchestra had to stop playing. And the conductor, he turned around. He gave me his scores to take a look at it. And it was the first time that I saw the full score of like a full orchestra. Yes,
yeah.
I couldn't even
more confusing.
Yes, I couldn't even find my voice. Like, wait, what is this?
Yeah.
But luckily, we finished to continue playing. We finished to, we managed to finish the whole concert, and but it was traumatizing. Even though the audience was very grateful, but it was very traumatizing. I felt very embarrassed and I was crying a lot in that night. Now, I have to say that there are 2 ways of dealing with this situation. I had another concert coming up with the same program.
Soon after that.
Yes, and so my piano teacher, she was completely stressed out. She was like the one who made it even worse.
Yeah.
And I have to thank my mom for calming me down and for sitting down with me at home and practicing with me and telling me, giving me confidence to say, okay, you're going to rock it. You're going to know what is happening and you will do it. Now, the second concert, everything went well. I came to this part where I had a blackout. Of course, I was struggling. Of course, I was like scared of what is going to happen. But I managed to go through, and I managed to play the full concert. It was a great success. I was super happy. I remember that at that time I played one of the Trois Nouvelles Etudes. I think it was the first one of Chopin as an encore. And the first time in the first concert I played, it was extremely sad. Like my parents, they said it was very emotional. And then the second time, it is like a sad etude actually. Yeah. But the second time, it felt like it's a happy etude because I was
you managed to, deal with the struggle. Yeah.
I was so relieved that I actually managed to do it. Now, but since then, I really have struggles with blackouts on stage all the time. And for a long time, I thought maybe I'm just too stupid to actually memorize the pieces. And I started to find extreme ways of memorizing stuff. And I try to make it as secure as it can be.
I really remember what you said. Actually, maybe you can share this with the audience, your tricks of how you prepare with the letters.
Yes.
And parts of the score.
Yes. So basically I was getting my checkpoints in the score. So I knew I'm going to have a blackout. I knew there are going to be struggles on stage. So I better get prepared for that by finding my checkpoints, basically. So I marked specific places inside the score and I gave everyone like a name or a letter with a number. And I would write it on paper and snippets and just pick out a paper, read it, and then immediately start playing from that. So I really know, okay, even out of nowhere, I can start playing there.
Yeah.
That helped me a lot, but still I would have blackouts. And so I would bring this method to the extreme and I was able to start every second measure, basically.
Wow.
That was crazy. And my brain was full of checkpoints, actually. And did
this help?
It helped in the terms of I felt extremely secure, but still the thoughts would come back and like, are you sure that you know this? Are you sure you know the next checkpoint?
Because this is the next question that comes up because you are kind of expecting the blackouts. Maybe you're training yourself to have them in one way. Of course, you don't want to.
Yes.
But from my own experience, the reason I would have blackout, even though I could play the program like mastered, but it was the adrenaline.
Yes.
So for me, the adrenaline that I had in my body, my heart was pounding like, the typical thing, dry mouth, you go to the bathroom. Like I'm not the one that would even, throw up. Like some people have this to extreme. There's many famous artists as well that were struggling with this, like Radu Lupu, for example. He till the moment that he passed away, he had back pain and he was like sick of worry, and still he performed, and amazingly so. Like, the other question is, why are you doing this to yourself?
That's a good question.
Because I actually decided for myself that I don't want to do that anymore, and for my reasons that I was struggling with my health. But
I think,
I kind of, I really want to know, like, why.
I think, of course, it's a question of balance. Like, how much do you get out of the feeling of being on stage compared to
The struggle.
the struggle? Yes. Now, if the struggle is much bigger than the enjoyment, the joy on stage, of course, I would also suggest just stop it, play for yourself, keep the joy of music for you. That's always the most important thing. Now, for me personally, even though I had so many blackouts, and like after every concert I was crying and I was like, I'm so stupid, I will never be a pianist or something. There was always this thought of, okay, next time I will do it better. Even if it was the worst concert, I was like, I thought next time.
I have so much respect for you for this.
Maybe I'm just stupid, I don't know.
No, I think you are so brave. You're so brave knowing this and still doing it and leaning into your fear. I think this is growth. You are not giving up, you know?
I would still say, like, I'm still working on it. It's, I think, something that I will have to work on my lifetime because it's so deep inside of me, this fear. I actually had some professional help at some point. During my bachelor studies, my professor, he was worried for me because I was really struggling a lot on stage. And we were trying to find a solution together. And he thought maybe, it's not so much your brain, like in terms of you can memorize things.
Course,
maybe it's more just a mental
it's a psychological thing.
Yes, exactly.
Obviously.
So he suggested me to get some help. And I was having like a coach. She called herself a coach. And we were having like meetings every now and then. And she would ask me how I feel on stage and with my memory and stuff and how I'm scared. And, I didn't really feel a progress. And she said at some point, I'm not supposed to tell you this as your coach, but maybe you should just accept the mistake as being like an old friend and go hand in hand with it on stage. And this helped me so much. Like immediately I felt so relieved and relaxed in my brain. I was like, yes,
crazy.
Exactly. It's just, it's an old friend. He will be there. In any case, I have to play 100,000s of notes. There is like the chances that I'm going to hit one wrong note is so high.
Of course.
I shouldn't have the expectations that I'm going to play everything 100% like I practice.